What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Now in the first video I showed you how to make 22 arc brass from 6.5 brindle brass. Now today I figured I'd go ahead and show you what my process is for taking that 22 arc brass and fire forming. What that does is that takes that piece of brass and conforms it to your barrel, therefore improving accuracy and consistency, and that's what we're looking for today. As I said, this is going to be the first step into our load development process to get everything ready for the new hunting season. If you can take away anything from this video, that'd be great. If you have any other ideas, feel free to comment or let me know, and I'll be happy to look into them as I'm always learning myself. So with that said, I hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy. So let's get to it. Okay guys, so for the first step in fire forming, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get load data. Now, load data is like a recipe that you can find for the particular projectiles that you're trying to fire. In my case, I do have two in front of me. I have the 75 grain boat tail hollow point match, and I have the 62 grain ELDVTs. Now, the 62 grain ELDVTs, I have tried doing load development in the past, and it was all over the place. So after deep diving, going down some sort of rabbit hole, I found out that me trying to do load development within like the first 40 to 50 rounds just wasn't going to do it. So I have seasoned my barrel with a lot more loads. I eventually got it to tighten up with some ramshot tack, but I didn't like the velocity that it was giving me out of an 18-inch barrel. Now, in order to get that load data, we do have some resources available to us. For instance, we have the Hornady handbook that you see in front of us. Unfortunately, that doesn't have the 22 arc load data as it is older than the 22 arc cartridge. So we either have the Hodgkin reloading website or we do have the Hornady app. Luckily for me, I do have the Hornady app, and I'll show you how to find your selections in that. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll launch the Hornady app. Once it loads, we'll go to rifle reloading data. From here, I'm going to scroll down to 22 arc. Now, because I have a gas gun, that's what I'm going to select. Now here we'll look at a couple of different things. One is we'll look at the barrel length, which is 24 inches. So 1 in 7 twist. You're going to look, they tested it with the Hornady brass. Your primer is going to be a Federal 205. The bullet diameter is .224, which is a 22 caliber bullet. Your maximum COL or cartridge overall length is going to be 2.260. Your maximum case length, that is before trimming, is going to be 1.525. And your case trim length, you're going to trim it down to 1.510. So what we'll do from here is we'll select the bullet weight. And since I do have two bullets available to me, I'm going to check the 75 grain bullets first. From here, we'll look at the 75 grain boat tail hollow point match information. So here it says the COL or the cartridge overall length is going to be 2.160. That actually differs from the 2.260, so it's 100 thousandths shorter. So make sure you do pay attention to that. Now from here, I do have CFE 223 that I want to load. So the maximum charge weight here is saying 29.8 grains. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go down in between, so probably around 28 grains. I'm going to go back and we'll go ahead and pull up the information for the 62 grain ELDVTs. Now here, like I said, I do have three powders available to me. I have the tack or the ramshot tack. I do have CFE 223, and I have the lever evolution. Now from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the maximum charge weight. So on here, you can see it's 28.7 grains of tack. And I'm going to go down, I'm going to start there, and I'm going to go down 0.5 grains. So I'm going to load 5 bullets. So it'll be 28.7, 28.2, 27.7, 27.2, and then 26.7, and so on. I'm going to do the same thing with the lever evolution, which is going to be the 32.1 grains and then down, and then 32.3 grains and down for the CFE 223. So since I do have the load data for the particular projectiles I have in front of me, my thought process is I'm going to knock out two birds with one stone. What I'm going to do is I'm going to load up 35 rounds of the 75 grain boat tail hollow point matches. Since I do have a ton of those, that will help season my barrel. And since I want to do load development for the 62 grain ELDVTs, I will load up 5 rounds each of the three different powders that I have to show signs of pressure. So I will start out at max load data for whatever powder it is, and I will go down in point 0.5 increments to see if I can achieve any kind of pressure signs. And then from there, I know to back it off to the one before. That's just kind of how I kind of do my load development for the hunting rounds. Now for those rounds, what I'm going to use is I'm going to use two different primers. For the 75 grains, I'm going to use the CCI 400s. I do have a lot more of those than I do of the Federal. Now, the reason that I'm going to use the Federal for the 62 grain ELDVTs is because I didn't use those before. And I want to see if that has any impact on the groupings that I may find in the load development for the 62 grains. Now that we have everything that we need to get the process started, let's go ahead and start loading up. We'll start with the primers first. Now, if you're wondering what's in front of you, this is going to be the Derico PCPS. I believe they refer to this as the poor man's PCPS. All it is just a priming center that I find works really well for me. Now, a good thing about the PCPS is it does use the Lee shell holders. Now, if you have a bunch of different cartridges, this is probably going to be your best bet when it comes to priming. It's super fast, super easy, and it does one heck of a job. Now, luckily, it's super easy to change out the shell holders. All you have to do is undo one of the screws, like so. Then loosen this up some more. This swivels over to the side. All you have to do is just pick up that shell holder, put it away, and then reload the one that you want. So for the first batch of 35 rounds that we're going to load, I already have 35 of the CCI 400 primers in this tube. I will take the pin out. Now, what you do to load it is you just push this back, it springs forward, and if I raise it, you should be able to see the primer right there. All you do is load that in the shell holder, push up, and it seats it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and load up the other 34, and we're going to do powder charges next. So when it comes to powder loading, one of the most important tips that I can give you is make sure you only have one powder on the table at a time. It's easy to lose track of what powders you're using if you're using different powders. So later when I load up the 5 rounds of each of the three powders that I have, I'm only going to be using one powder at a time. Another tip that I can give you is with your scale here. What you want to do is you want to start it up and let it sit for a good hot minute. The longer you let it sit, the more accurate it becomes. So I usually recommend giving it about 5-10 minutes. Some people wait 30, but that 5-10 minute area for me works out very well. Now the scale is nothing spectacular. It works great for what I got it for. I got it on Amazon for a pretty good deal. So what we'll do is I have the Lee perfect powder measure right here. I will take my little scoop here, throw some powder, and I think we settled on 28 grains of CFE 223 as the middle of the road powder. So looking at it, 28 grains exactly. Wow, I don't think I could do that um, 10 times in a row. Got lucky. So from here, what I'll do is I will take this and I will throw it in this funnel. Now, the interesting thing about this funnel is this is actually from a company called MKM. It's actually 3D printed, and it actually helps with any kind of static charge. I've used powders in the past where if I use like one of the Lee ones with this plastic, there's a static electricity that builds up, and then the powder kind of gets stuck on the funnel. This kind of helps alleviate that. So what I'll do is I will throw 28 grains in the rest of the cases, and I will go on to the next step, which is reloading the projectile, 75 grain. All right. So for the next step, we're going to go ahead and seat the bullets. Now, before we do that, it is imperative, and I must implore you, that when loading your cases here with the powder, make sure you check every single one of those cases to make sure that one, you have powder in them, and two, that you didn't overload the powder. So what I did is I checked each one of the cases, and then whichever cases had powder in it, I went ahead and put one of the projectiles on it, signaling that it is ready to load. So now that we have all the powders checked, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set the seating die. So what we'll do is we will, with everything pretty much pulled out, we're going to go ahead and lower the ram. Then we're going to screw this down until we feel the die touch, and you shouldn't be able to go anymore. That's how you know it's touching. So what you'll do is you'll back it off about a half a turn. What I usually do is so I could see this micrometer, I will back it off until I can see that. And it's okay if you do that because the micrometer will bring it down. So then I'll take the bullet. From there, I will lower it, and then I will adjust this down until you feel it touch about there. So at that point, you can see that it's already starting to seat it in. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and turn it a little bit more till I get it about zero. Lower it down. Then with a pair of good calipers, like this Hornady one that I have right here, I'll zero it, take a measurement of the bullet, which is showing to be 2.286. And if I remember correctly on the app, the cartridge overall length is supposed to be 2.160. So we're about 126 thousandths away. So I'll reset that down. So I will then adjust this about 120 thousandths just to make sure that it doesn't overgo. So that should be 50, 100, 5, 10, 15, 20. So what I'll do is I'll lower it just a little bit, lift it up, rotate it. Helps concentric. I don't know. I don't remember that word, but it just makes it where the bullet seats in there nice and straight, basically. Lower that down. Take the bullet. Take the calipers. Measure it again. Let's see, 2.169. So we're about 9 thousandths off because I believe we said it was 2.160. So now take that, lower it about 9 more, lower it down, pull it out, measure once again, 2.159. That's not bad. So we said about 2.160 was the max overall length. So Depending on the bullet, some bullets, because of the tip, are gonna be different, which is okay. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and set the rest of these. Okay, now that I got everything loaded, I went ahead and loaded up the other 5 rounds of each of the powder. As you can see, marked, indicated over here, I have CFE 223, Ramshot Tack, Lever Evolution. Now, one tip I can give you is if you are doing these by powder weight, go ahead and mark the case with the powder weight. Also, I put a little mark over the primer, that way it's easy to identify the rounds whenever I go and look for any kind of pressure indications and stuff like that. So this is the 75 grain um, Boattail hollow point, and then these are the 62 grain LDVT. So my next step from here is I'm going to go ahead and get to the range, shoot these, fire form them, and then report back on what I see as far as pressure signs. I might go ahead and also check the velocities with the chronograph of each one of those powder weights to kind of get a better understanding of where it sits according to the Hornady app. So yeah, I will see y'all when I get back. All right, guys, back from the range. Now, I know you're probably seen from the last shot that there are actually more cases in the case. Well, my curiosity got the best of me, and I decided to actually load up more of the CCI 400s in the other cases. So going over the data and looking at the cases, it actually didn't make a difference if I had the CCI 400s or the Federal 205s. The pressure signs were all the same. With CFE 223, pressure signs were shown at 32.3 and 31.8 grains. Ramshot Tack 28.7 and 28.2, and the Lever Evolution 32.1, 31.6, and 31.1. So I don't know if the Lever Evolution just runs a little hotter. Now, one of the interesting things is, and I don't know if it's just because I shot them after the Federal 205s, but the CCI 400 cartridges were showing faster velocities. So, and it's not by just a little, it was actually by a lot. So for instance, the 32.3 grains of CFE 223 yielded 3113.2 in the Federal 205 and 3238.4 in CCI 400s. Now, I'm not sure if the temperature from the day getting warmer as I shot more had any effect on these powders. So only the true testing of the ammo when we load up groups are going to show us signs and velocities. So for the CFE 223, we're going to go ahead and do 5 rounds of the 30.8 grains and the 31.3. The Ramshot Tack, we're going to do 27.2 grains and 27.7 grains. And the Lever Evolution, we're going to do 30.1 grains and 30.6 grains. So in the next video, it may be a little bit longer, but I'm going to show you my process now that we have everything fire formed and brass preparation. Then I will take you out to the range and I will show you the results of the firings. So if you made it this far into the video, thanks for sticking around. Again, if you have any comments, suggestions, or anything else like that, let me know. I'll be happy to answer any questions or take your suggestions into account. So on that note, I hope you have a great day.